Hi everyone, it's Dawn, BA's editor-in-chief, and I'm here for a secret conversation about Chris Morocco. Once again, we're going to put Chris's super taster abilities to the test. This is Edna Lewis's hot crusty buttermilk biscuits with tomato gravy. We're challenging Chris to replicate this exact dish with all of the ingredients in just one day. He'll be able to taste it, touch it, smell it, but at no point will he be able to see this dish. Because he only has one day, we're going to give him 3 lifelines, but there's a catch. Using them will dock points off of his final score. When Chris is done, we'll come back to see his final creation, and I'll be the judge.
Okay, ready? The only thing I could really smell is some bacon. I get bacon over on this side, and then over on this side, I get something kind of like sweet, cool, and like fruity veggie something. There's certain dishes where, you know, it's just like, oh my gosh, you know, you lift that cloche and it like hits you. But this one's not like, it's not leaping out. Is it a halved biscuit? Or is that the bottom of the biscuit? Well, that's a buttermilk biscuit. Got a nice little like kind of buttery, slight tang to it. Okay, I think we do have a bottom half of the biscuit here. Oh, that's our bacon. Crispy, chewy, smoky, and this is really good bacon. I mean, it's like really good. Where's this bacon from, Summer? Okay, well, we found the bottom half of the biscuit. So it's a very sort of like not super even top to this thing. So it could possibly just indicate that it's like 2 kind of round biscuits. And then I'm just getting like all this mushy something or other. Like it feels like sort of like a tomato gravy. I don't know, at first it sort of felt like, oh, maybe it's more of like a tomato jam, but there's so much of it. It's not reduced and concentrated and sweet and salty and whatever enough to like really be like considered a jam. Got some onion in there, a little bit of sweetness, and certainly salty, but there's some kind of like backing flavor, kind of like a black pepper or like maybe just the tiniest, littlest bit of heat from cayenne or hot sauce or something. Some like little bit of like hard, almost like woody kind of spice. Could possibly be thyme, like fresh thyme. I would have just thought that the bulk of the liquid is coming from the tomato breaking down. No other kind of like liquid possibilities really standing out for me. I'm a little nervous. No guesses whatsoever. Is this like, should I know this? Is this like a thing? Is this what the kids are into, Morgan? Should I know this? Is this a thing? Is this like what the kids are wearing? Okay, we're here to make a shopping list. I feel like I should be able to be handed the recipe for BA's Best Buttermilk Biscuit, which is my go-to recipe, but which I have very little memory of. Explain to you why I should be okay, fine, I'll do it myself. Okay, so I need AP flour, unsalted butter, baking powder, baking soda, buttermilk, salt. I guess we'll figure out what I'm missing when it doesn't work, right? Okay, and then I think we need fresh tomatoes because I feel like there was some skin on those. Fresh tomatoes, onions, garlic. All right, we thought maybe thyme, right? Question mark, olive oil. Okay. If this was more of a Southeast thing, maybe I'd look more to kind of hot sauce in that sort of realm of like heat. If it's more like kind of a Southwest thing, then maybe I'd lean more into chili powder, but I'm not really clear. It's not shouting any one particular thing to me. So culinary producers are gonna go out, get these ingredients, come back. I'm gonna have my first pass and see if I can remember how to make a biscuit. We'll see. No guarantees. The problem is that when you come down and see all this stuff, it's very validating. You know what I mean? It's like any fakakta idea I might have had and written down suddenly has been like brought to life, and these ingredients are here, and that just reinforces the idea that they must be in there. but that's not necessarily the case, is it? So thought process is I'm just trying to recollect the biscuit recipes that I have cooked. I wanna do 3 cups of flour. Okay, great. I'm putting in like a tablespoon of sugar. This just helps promote browning. You don't necessarily want a sweet biscuit, but it will help it pick up color in the oven. And then a solid teaspoon of kosher salt. Then I'm gonna do like 2 teaspoons of powder, half a teaspoon of soda. I'm gonna whisk that, and then we're gonna cut in our butter here. Butter is what's gonna give it fat, it's gonna make it rich, it's gonna give it a lot of flavor. I'm doing a full stick here. It's a nice even amount. So I'm just mashing the butter into the flour mixture. This is gonna disperse it. We're gonna leave some pieces in kind of bigger chunks. The biggest challenge is definitely this tiny ass bowl and the fact that it rests on a tiny little base and it's very tippy as well as being small. I'm using a cup of buttermilk. It just sort of feels right to me here. Okay, so everything's too warm right now, but that's just the kind of day it is. This is kind of like the move. It would work a lot better if everything wasn't quite so warm, but just leaving the butter in sort of bigger pieces and then bringing the dough the rest of the way together by kind of stacking it, just so you get like nice layers. Colder butter is gonna stay more intact and incorporate less into the flour. It's gonna give you more distinct kind of smushy buttery layers that in the heat of the oven, the water content of the butter is going to release as steam and push those layers apart. That's 3-inch. That kind of feels pretty good. So white lily, you know, the protein content is low, so that's gonna give you a much more tender result. But I don't know, sometimes like, is tenderness everything, you know? So I'm brushing with buttermilk. You could do melted butter as well, but you just want a little bit of a wash on here so that you get better browning. All right, going into a 400-degree oven. While we're doing that, I'm gonna work on this gravy situation. So I'm doing some garlic and some onion, and then it's all a bit blurry after that. Was I getting chili pepper? Was I not getting chili pepper? Definitely more questions than answers on that one. Let's cook some bacon. You know, we kind of need this to do double duty. We wanna render the fat, but we wanna capture the fat so that we can maybe, you know, build our tomatoey gravy on top of that. All right, bacon is done. It's crispy. It's like maybe beyond crispy, but it's fine, it's great. So now, onion. I'm gonna use maybe like half of this. So that is our bacon fat here. I'm gonna throw in a couple sprigs of thyme now and let that kind of cook in. We're just letting this sweat. Let's maybe throw our garlic in there. A tablespoon of flour, that's not much. We're gonna cook it out. Let's go cut some tomatoes. So canned tomatoes, I think, could potentially work in this. I don't know, I'm kind of going with fresh because I feel like I was tasting tomato skin. I felt like I had actual pieces of tomato. All right, so tomatoes are going in. I wanna cook the tomatoes out, concentrate them a good bit. This is definitely that moment where things are starting to feel wrong. I mean, I have like salt. I should throw some black pepper in there. There's thyme, there's the bacon fat, there's the flour. You know, I had that feeling like there might be, you know, like some kind of spice or like dried spice blend in here. I don't know, maybe I should be faithful to that. Like this just doesn't have like quite the depth. It like has fat from the bacon fat. But like chili powder? Let's go for it. I mean, whatever, this is round one, right? No guts, no glory. All right, so we're gonna calm this down, throw some water in there, just to loosen it up, because the texture is like, frankly, like a little bit gummy right now. They pancaked out just slightly. I'm wondering if the mixture was a little bit too wet. It did certainly help, I think, that we put it in cold from the fridge. We did get some like good flake there. It certainly doesn't seem like a fail. So yeah, we really lost our layers in here, but maybe that's okay. You know, just given that wasn't like a super flaky biscuit. I'm very happy with like overall ratios and the leavening. It does taste really good. These are pretty banging. I would say let's plate one of these things. Great. I feel like Summer's bacon was better than mine. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, yes!
Yo!
Yes! This is where things get weird, because this is what it seemed like I was tasting. It feels wrong. This is what I tasted, okay? So everyone frig off. All right, boom. For the record, when I plated this like this, everybody like audibly laughed, like harder than they've laughed ever before on any video. So maybe we didn't quite crack the code on the plating, all right? I'm gonna retaste the original dish hopefully in a minute and see, if I should change proportions of fat at all. Otherwise, like, I mean, we've tried these elements before. I don't know. It's okay. Ingredients, I don't know, 75% or so, because I'm not feeling a huge sense of clarity about the gravy here. Taste, like, I'm maybe gonna say like 83. Pretty good. It's not the best, but it's all right. Tomato gravy I have here has a lot going on. It has a lot of the same sort of notes, but this question of the chili element is dogging me. Technique, 80. It feels like it should be pretty straightforward, but I don't know. I wanna hedge a little bit. Appearance, I don't know, 80. I mean, everybody laughed. They laughed. So still a lot of questions here. I have one more shot to try the original dish, and then I need to make final biscuit, final gravy. Let's hope the bacon just is what it is, and then see how I do. Okay. All right, well, let's pay attention to plating here, right? So this is like one solid biscuit, right? Like kind of slightly domed shape, reasonable flakiness, definitely a little flakier than mine. We're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna use some colder butter for the next one and really take a little more care with punching them out, like flouring the cutter in between. So I get like a nice crisp cut face. So we have the other biscuit. I guess bacon's sort of on the side. Bacon is on the side. And again, knobbly baked surface. Here, that is not a cut face. It's another biscuit in its entirety. The bacon was on the side. All right, now. This is a canned tomato. Summer, do you have canned diced tomatoes back there?
Don't answer that.
Why? I'm asking. It's just holding its texture a little too well. It also just has a little bit of a tinny, not quite cooked out enough kind of flavor to it. I'm imagining that it's like a can of diced tomatoes. I feel good about the flour. It's been thickened. There's a lot of black pepper in this. I'm just not sure about the chili powder. I can't really decide about that. The liquid, oof, I'm not sure about that. I suppose like it could also be like dairy, it could be like, but like milk and tomato, ooh, canned tomato. I'm sorry. I'd rather be wrong than be right, All right, I think I'm okay. I don't know, we could be here all day, so I'm good. So we're going for round 2 of the biscuits. My biscuits were better. So on the back of the package, there is a biscuit recipe for light and fluffy biscuits, baked at 475. Yeah, I know. That is wild to me. So we're starting with a little bit colder butter now. Oh, it's feeling great. Just held back a couple tablespoons of buttermilk. Keep them from being quite so soft. They're a bit tricky to handle before. I'm trying to go just slightly thicker, and I'm just gonna flour the cutter in between cuts. We're slightly thicker here, definitely a lot cleaner. Buttermilk. Those are a little easier and nicer to handle, not quite so soft. Hopefully they'll spring a little more up, not out. We'll see, all right? So I'm just cooking bacon. I mean, certainly the way we're gonna start here is not gonna be different really at all. The way that Dan is banging on about the liquid is making me question whether I should be using a lifeline. I don't know, literally yesterday I was just saying like lifelines are bullshit. It wouldn't be a bad lifeline to use, that's what you're saying?
I think you'd be pretty satisfied with it.
Really? Okay, let's do it. Calling in a lifeline, hit me with it. Well, I guess like that fattiness, you know, that sticky quality, like all of the richness in the gravy, apparently it's coming from more than one source. It's one of those frustrating things like heavy cream, it doesn't have acid, it just has tons of fat. And it has a little bit of like, you know, obviously like that milky dairy thing, but like how much can you taste that against the tomato and whatever else? So, yeah, okay. Okay, bacon is crispy. I'm sticking with my onion. I feel like it makes sense. I'm doing a little extra flour this time because we're switching to the juicier canned tomatoes. So flour's going in. I'm taking that chili powder out. I don't know what I'm doing with that. I think our heat could very well be just coming from black pepper. Something about this is sort of screaming American South to me. So I'm gonna add a little bit of heavy cream and we're gonna watch the color really transform on this. I don't know, it's still like, it's such a tight mixture. Slightly concerned about how it's looking right now. I'm gonna throw some water in here. Well, so that's cool to hang for a sec. I'm really happy with these. I think I've got Emeril Lagasse's biscuits with tomato gravy. I don't know. Way better, like flaky, crunchy edges on this guy. Very buttery. Ingredients, I'll go up to an 85 now. I would love to know if the black pepper is indeed the only heat source in here. Taste, I think we are real close here. I mean, taste, I would give myself a 90. I just want to point out, like, I think in terms of like flavor overall, I think I'm like, this maybe is like the closest I've ever come. Technique, I'll go down to an 85. I feel like there could be like an order of operations thing here happening. But overall, I feel pretty solid about like render bacon, build a roux on top of the bacon fat, get it done in an hour, drink a seltzer and get the f out of here, you know? Appearance, I mean, crisscross, applesauce, bacon, 2 biscuits in their entirety, a little pool of tomatoey gravy, 95. So that puts me at an 89, but I used the lifeline again, which drops me down to an 86. I think still very respectable. We'll see in the final analysis if it was worth it. I'm gonna meet up with Dawn later for the actual judging, but I am gonna have an opportunity to see the original dish in a minute, poke around at it. I don't think I'm gonna have a lot of my answers confirmed for sure, but hopefully seeing it will tell me some of what I wanna know right now. And I guess some of it is just gonna have to wait until I'm able to meet up with Dawn. Okay, so it is time to get a look at the original dish. I'm ready, how about you?
Chris, may I present to you Edna Lewis's hot, crusty buttermilk biscuits and tomato gravy.
Okay, look at that docking on the biscuits. I mean, would have been hard to catch, but still, damn. Super tender mouthfeel. There's really a pronounced bite to the vegetables. I mean, really just the onion. And then there's still like a lot of texture coming from the tomato. But yeah, much more of like a cream-based gravy. So, I mean, clearly there are some differences here. Overall, I mean, I'm not feeling too bad, but unfortunately I have to wait until I chat with Dawn to actually get my scores and confirm what ingredients and techniques are here. So I guess I'll just have to sort of sit with this.
Hi, Chris. It's nice to see you.
Hi, Dawn. Good to see you too.
When you found out that it was Edna Lewis, were you intimidated to think, oh my goodness, because she's known for many things, including her biscuits?
Edna Lewis is like an absolute icon of Southern cooking. Once I saw her biscuits, it was very clear that there was like a particular point of view at work. The way that they were docked, the proportion of them, the fact that they weren't super tall, they were incredibly tender. Docking is a way to facilitate steam escaping. You use a fork to poke down into the dough. And then I think I must have tripped up in using all butter in my biscuits. The color difference is, making me wonder if there isn't butter in hers. It made me feel like it has to be shortening.
Some kind of lard went in there.
Some lard.
Old school Southern style from back in the day.
I was not thinking in the realm of lard, and I messed that up.
How are you feeling after you completed the challenge?
I actually came away from Friday feeling pretty good. But, I was a little bummed about the visuals.
Is that because you missed an ingredient?
I thought it was a tomato gravy, but it's actually kind of an onion and cream gravy with some tomato in it.
And how did it taste, Chris?
The taste was actually very comparable. Because I had the heavy cream in there, I had the right aromatics, I had, the onion, all of that stuff, but it was just the look.
So, Chris, in the gravy, you missed 2 ingredients. One really kind of halvesies. You used fresh thyme and the recipe calls for dry thyme. Oh. And I suspect the other ingredient that made the color slightly different is milk. And I think you used a buttermilk wash to finish your biscuits. Edna uses butter, just butter.
It's funny, I think it's easy to kind of especially when you have a blindfold on, pick up a biscuit and just sort of say, oh, it's a biscuit. But within that world, there is such a wide spectrum.
Such a wide spectrum.
Styles, shapes, textures.
So tell me about how you chose to roll them out.
The shaggy dough is kind of pressed together. It's cut into 4 pieces, stacked on top of each other, and then mostly pressed down by hand into shape. Only very lightly rolled, the rolling pin is there to just kind of even out the mass, once it's incorporated, and then I punched it out into circles.
Compared to the Edna Lewis recipe, I think you may have overthought it a little bit.
Yep.
I think you bake them at different temperatures as well. She bakes hers at 500.
What?
So Chris, I'm gonna give you some scores here.
Okay.
On ingredients, you did pretty, I was very impressed. I'm gonna give you a pass on thyme. You used fresh thyme, the recipe calls for dry thyme. You did not use lard. Biscuits, Southern, I was hoping you'd kind of sniff that out, so I'm gonna take off some points from that. And you also missed milk, but wow, the rest was right on point, so I'm gonna give you a 95 on ingredients. Taste. With this being a remote situation, I wasn't able to taste it, so you gave yourself a 90, and I'm gonna go with that, a 90.
Okay.
Technique, I thought you mastered that with the exception of rolling out the biscuit dough. I thought you were a little overly contemplative and thought about it too much and just, a little simpler next time, so I'm gonna give you a 93.
Okay.
For appearance, it looked pretty great. If you'd added the milk, I think the colors might have been more kind of what we were looking for, so I'm gonna give you a 92.
All right.
You did use 1 lifeline, so I have to dock you 3 points for that, Chris.
Okay.
So your score is 89.5, but we're gonna round up and give you a 90. That's an A-, Chris.
I think that might be my best score ever.
Congratulations on your A-. It's a job well done, and that was great.
Thank you. Honestly, such a pleasure. I'm completely thrilled with that. Beyond thrilled. Over the moon. It was a fantastic challenge and really cool to be able to work with Dawn on this. So I'm happy, walking away very happy. I totally did not wash that biscuit. Thanks for the heads up on that, Erica. It's great. Good to have you here.